Hello and welcome to the big picture. The recent verdict of the Supreme Court asking the Election Commission of India to start consultations with political parties to work out guidelines on what can or cannot be promised in manifestos is bound to lead to mixed opinions. The apex court, which upheld the legal right of the political parties to offer freebies like TV sets, laptops, mixer grinders, among others, however, expressed skepticism about political parties offering such sops in their election manifestos. In fact, the court even invoked the directive principles of the Constitution to justify it. The question, however, raised is about level playing field and whether such offering of SOPs vitiates the process of free and fair elections. It has also suggested a legislation, though as a beginning it wants the Election Commission to include the regulating the manifesto promises as part of the Model Code of Conduct. All this raises many issues which would need larger debate as concerns are already expressed about the right of the political parties to make promises to their electorate. We will today discuss the various pros and cons of this judgment and its impact, as well as the viability of or desirability of such regulations on election manifesto. To discuss this, I have with me Tarun Vijay, BJP MP, who will be on the phone line initially, SK Mendiratta, legal advisor to the Election Commission of India, and Sankarshan Thakur, roving editor of the Telegraph. First, let me ask Tarun Vijay. Vijay,
Yes, sir.
the order of the Supreme Court saying that, election manifestos, expressing some kind of a skepticism about the kind of free SOPs which are being offered in the election manifestos. Do you think that, some kind of regulation is necessary on this?
It has yet to be studied because the Supreme Court's order is a bit shocking and surprising. Democracy doesn't mean that they become as a controller and a guide and a philosopher to the political parties.
Right.
Political parties are there in their own right to promise or to say whatever they want to say, to influence their voters. And that is what the democracy is all about. If you appoint a certain government agency or even if an autonomous agency is there where the bureaucrats and the senior officers who had been serving the government before are there and they start guiding the political parties, this will be something unbecoming of the very concept of the democratic norms and the democratic freedom. I do agree that political parties sometimes do need a constraint and sincerity, especially in smaller parties and the regional parties. We see that the election manifestos are not exactly what they should be, and they may be promising moon to the voters and saying that they will do this and that to woo the voters. But that's what the electioneering is all about. Let them be tested after the elections, and if suppose in UP or in Bihar or in Gujarat a political party had promised laptops or scooters or motorcycles, let it be examined after the election and the voters be the supreme. Who is this election commission to become the omnipresent and omnipotent authority to say, no, you can do this and you cannot do that? As far as the eligibility to stand and to be a candidate in the election is concerned, we do welcome and we will seek that election commission may provide stringent norms and conditions so that the candidates are as far as possible clean, with a clean image, and they have a background which enables them to serve the voters. But about the election manifesto, it will be taken with a salt, it will be taken with some suspicion and suspect, and I am sure that after the judgment is fully examined by our leaders, a proper response will be prepared.
Okay.
I would like to cite one example of the northeastern states where the elections are held. How many of them prepare even the proper election manifesto? There, I had seen as a journalist when I went to Mizoram, in Nagaland, in Arunachal Pradesh, in small villages, the candidates were distributing Hero Hondas, motorbikes, free of cost, to the entire village. It has nothing to do with the election manifesto. Better election commissions concentrate on these kind of talks in these kind of extra constitutional those things that are given to the voters. This should be stopped. rather
Okay.
than guiding, becoming a writer, ghost writer to the political parties of their election manifesto.
I think you have made the very interesting points. Vijay, please stay on. I'll come back to you. Tapan, we are joined now by Tapan Sen, the CPIM MP. Tapan, this order of the Supreme Court and the Election Commission is now preparing to call a meeting of all major political parties to discuss this issue. You think that the Supreme Court's directive to hold this kind of a meeting and also expressing skepticism about election manifestos providing this kind of SOPs. What is your impression on this?
I don't think actually the Supreme Court in its observation or directives, whatever you may say, they also talked about the Supreme
Legality.
Court's limitation.
No, incidentally, they also upheld the Tamil Nadu government's right to distribute free television sets or mixer grinders or whatever.
That is a different thing. I am telling you that the Supreme Court as such expressed its own limitation in making a change or etc.
Right.
That it is a parliament they have to do.
Right.
Secondly, I think the election manifesto is something which is the sovereign right of the political parties to give its policy and make the promise.
Right.
They may promise moon or they may promise hell, but it is there within their right. Nobody can infringe on it, provided that does not go against the very basic spirit of the Constitution. And thirdly, I think the more important issue on which I think there should be debate and there should be intervention, if because either of judiciary or the whole election administration, is the kind of corruption that is being practiced at the time of poll. The money is distributed, liquor is distributed prior to poll by the individual candidates. Everybody knows who is doing that, in which poll. Everybody knows. It is but on that, the whole administration, whole government just looked on like a helpless onlooker. I think that practically undermines the whole democratic process.
Not the election manifesto promises.
No, not the election manifesto thing. The people, the electoral college, they are wise enough to judge the election manifesto in that true stream. But the manner where the whole poll process sought to be derailed or dechannelized is by use of money, use of other thing, by the candidates.
Absolutely.
Indulged in by parties also.
Right.
It is that many parties indulge in that process also.
So you're saying
an individual candidate cannot do it.
So you're saying that there are more serious issues involved. Sankarshan, let me come to you. You think that the Supreme Court's decision is something which is difficult to implement, or has it overstretched itself?
No, apart from the difficulty, I am fundamentally against any regulator coming in and deciding what a political party should or should not offer to the electorate, as long as it is not defamatory, inflammatory or violative of the larger framework of the Indian Constitution.
Right.
Why do we need another regulator? We already have a huge regulator called the Indian electorate, the Indian voter. He will decide whether a particular manifesto appeals to him or a particular manifesto is good or bad or ridiculous. I mean, political parties can offer a manned flight to the Uranus for all I care, but the people are going to reject that. And that is what democracy is all about. You make offers to the people and then let them choose.
Sankarshan, the Supreme Court's contention that it may vitiate the free and fair election. What do you have to say?
How does it vitiate free and fair election?
Because it doesn't provide a level playing ground. That is what is being said.
No. In what sense a level playing ground? If an outlandish promise is being made, the people will take a judgment call. If not in this election, in the next election. And if you're talking about the existing prowess of political parties to deliver this or that, that comes from their ability to win an election. That is what democracy is all about.
Right.
So if the people are voting a certain set of people or a political party to power, then they are empowering them to deliver on those promises or not deliver. If they don't deliver, they'll be thrown out in the following election.
Right.
I think that is where the choice should lie. We don't need to add another layer of regulator in this country. I think we have enough regulators who don't regulate enough.
Okay, step back. I'll come back to Mr. Mendiratta. Interesting points being made. Now, how does the Election Commission view this? They have called you have called a meeting of all political parties. What is it that that the Election Commission can do in this matter?
See, my submission is that we have been given a direction by the Supreme Court.
Right.
That you try to frame some guidelines.
Right.
And naturally, being a constitutional authority, we have to go by the direction.
Right.
And they have said that for the purpose of framing these guidelines, you consult the political parties.
Right.
And of course, fortunately, they have said recognized. Otherwise, there are 1,400 parties. They have confined it to
major recognized political
52 recognized political parties. So, it's premature to make any comment at this stage, because what we have done for the first, immediately, at least we have brought the Supreme Court's verdict or the order or the direction to the notice of all political parties which are concerned, so that we get their views.
Right.
And then we are able to do something. Secondly, what we are doing, we are also collecting material to see as to what is happening in the other developed
countries.
Democracies.
Right.
Because, of course, it's a debatable issue, but everything has to be done within the framework of the Constitution. As my learned friends said, that if something is said in the manifesto which is unconstitutional, so we will also try to see how to meet the requirements of the Constitution and how to see that the election process is not vitiated. For that purpose, naturally, we will require some time to study what is happening in the other countries, then what are the views of learned people like them. So, this exercise we have already started. Today, in fact, we have already, yesterday we wrote to all political parties. Today, we are writing to all the international organizations which are concerned with the electoral process, like this Commonwealth Network is there in London, then there is an international idea in Sweden, there is an IFES in, so we have already written, and we have also some MOUs with certain countries. So, we are asking for their views.
Right.
And then naturally something will crystallize.
No, but the present model code of conduct, one of the suggestions of the Supreme Court is that include this as a separate topic in the section in the model code of conduct. You think that it is a reasonable suggestion?
No, naturally we have to, if we want something to be said, we have to say it somewhere. So, model code is already a document which the political parties have given to us.
Yes.
So, this will also be in a way addition by the political parties to that particular model code, and if a new chapter or a new paragraph is added in that one, then it will become a self-contained code.
Girish, if I
if
I may, with all due respect, Girish, I think in post-imperial democracies, India has been an exemplar. I don't think we need lessons from the rest of the world in how to regulate our democracy, or go to the Commonwealth or here, there. A lot of countries come to us, come to the same election commission whose legal advisor you have in your studio probably, to conduct their elections.
Absolutely.
So I don't know why we are suddenly becoming babes in the wood, or behaving like we need to learn the baby steps of democracy. I know our democracy is very flawed. No democracy in this world is perfect.
We
the
don't,
point.
Let me get Mendiratta in on this.
No, we don't dispute that. We have the expertise.
No, of course, I wouldn't like to dispute that as an Indian citizen.
We have the expertise, but if you get some good ideas from your neighbors or from others, there is nothing wrong in that one.
Okay, I mean, this is.
I don't really see the need for this exercise.
It is interesting, but there are other issues which needs to be discussed before. But before that, we need to go into a very short break now. Please keep watching. We'll come back and continue this discussion. Welcome back. In the context of the Supreme Court directive to the Election Commission of India to look into whether SOPs can be given in manifestos, we are asking the question whether election manifestos should be regulated. Tapan Sen, coming back to you, see one of the arguments, let us keep the Supreme Court judgment aside. There has been a huge debate in this country for past several years about these kind of election SOPs being offered, free free laptops, free computers, free whatever, has been on, and huge amount of money is being spent from the public exchequer. Isn't that an issue which needs to be discussed in this country, whether this kind of offerings are good or bad for democracy?
Actually, that is altogether different thing. That should be discussed separately, not linked up with the present issue which you are debating. It is to keep the electoral process transparent and fair. If that is the issue to be, on that, in election manifesto, who will be committing what, promising what, let people make a judgment on that.
Right.
That can be a separate matter of discussion. But I think, and practically a non-issue. In so far as the electoral process keeping its transparency is concerned, there are more important issues which is completely corrupting the whole electoral process is the money power. And the Electoral Representation of People's Act are having all provisions to control the behavior of the individual candidates, sparing money, spending money, distributing money, a kind of bribery being practiced in the electoral process. So I think that is much more living issue on which intervention has to be done. And some concrete step need to be taken by the concerned authority. It is a everyday talk. In any election you go, if it is being talked, everybody knows, all in the people know who is spent what money.
Just now even...
And even very recently, a very senior politician from Maharashtra, by mistake he spoke how much he has spent and how much statement he has made. So it has been made amply clear that is more important issue instead of running after the non-issue, what we will be writing in the election manifesto. People are not that fool that they make their judgment on the basis of that.
Okay. Yes, sir. You want to respond?
Yeah. In fact, the question raised by our friend is very, very important, and we are also alive to this issue. And of course, during the last 2-3 years, we have seen, we admit that earlier we were not concentrating so much on money power. We were concentrating on muscle power and then misuse of official machinery, etc. To great extent, we feel that our efforts have borne fruit and we are able to control those things. Now our sole attention is on the money power. We have already started so many other, we have started taking measures. But unfortunately, we also get stuck somewhere in the court matters. I'll give you an example, very simple one. During the this Gujarat elections, we had, of course, we knew that some money will move, and that being a state with full of money and all that.
Yes.
So we had set up some checkposts on main highways and other things. So some people went to the High Court, and the High Court said it's a intrusion in our privacy and a right to move freely and all that. And unfortunately, I would say the High Court
upheld
and stopped us from doing all those things. We went to the Supreme Court unfortunately also didn't come to our aid. They said only if somebody is carrying a particular amount of money and then you can link that he is a public servant, he is a political worker carrying some election material, etc., then only you catch them. So that way...
you are hindered by this kind of process. Okay, interesting. That's interesting. I think we have Tarun Vijay back. Tarun, Vijay, you're there?
Yes.
Okay. Vijay, the important thing now is that in all this judgment, I was asking this to Tapan Sen also, the fact of the matter is that money power is playing a huge role in this. But at the same time, when people offer these kind of sops to elect the electorate, it is ultimately the citizens' money which is going to be spent, and huge amount of money is going to be, like now we are told that over 2,000 crores is being spent to give free laptops to students in Uttar Pradesh, and in Tamil Nadu also several thousand crores have been spent on all these things. So, isn't there a problem there?
I think you have touched the right chord, because the basic issue that the Election Commission and our Honorable Court should be focusing is how to deal with the big problem of Dam, Daru, Danda. They use muscle power, they use money power, they use every single power which corrupts the electoral process. And then they get in. Those people who have criminal backgrounds, who have been, passing through the most horrendous allegations by the courts, they have to appear in the courts regularly, and they get elected. So how to deal with this kind of a problem so that our assemblies and the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, they come much cleaner. Instead of becoming a ghostwriter to the election manifesto, Tapan also said that we have reservations, and this is autocratic. This will be something like a commissar sitting over the head of the political parties, and this will negate the very basic electoral process. We will be very happy to sit with the Election Commission and cooperate with the court about how to devise a methodology, a mechanism that will address the issue of corruption, issue of money power, issue of muscle power, influencing the election.
But promises, what kind of promises a political party can make should be left to the political party. Is that what you're saying?
Of course, what is democracy is all about. We promise a couple of things, and we see that when we come in the government, through the government channels, we try to realize those promises. Most of those promises are realized, whether it's the Congress, UPA, or SP, PSP, or BJP. There are promises, like the UPA said that they will control the price, right? They could never do it. There was a UPA promise to control the corruption, they could never do it. How the Election Commission is going to control this, that you are not going to promise in the next election manifesto that if corruption will be controlled, because you did nothing in the past governance.
Absolutely.
So how will you deal with
it? I think you have made a point.
Your party has been promising to build a Ram temple for decades and decades. I think it's a communally sensitive issue.
Right.
You haven't been able to deliver.
You're right. So, sir, next time Election Commission will say...
You are only talking about others' promises.
BJP will not mention Ram temple.
Girish.
Yes, Tapan.
Girish, why don't you look a bit differently? Or promise means future tense.
Absolutely.
In order to win the election,
yes.
Now by some bending the rules or laws or provisions, you are transferring lakhs of crores to the corporate exchequer, and nowadays without a corporate linkage, it is becoming very difficult to fight the election.
I am sure.
Why don't you go to future?
Actually,
you better deal on present. How the whole electoral process is thought to be influenced by bending the rules, policies, and transferring lakhs of crores from national exchequer to corporate exchequer.
Tapan, I'm sure that's a separate debate on its own.
No, that is the major, basic debate. And the state funding,
we are running out of time.
Is required.
We are running out of time, Tapan. Sankarshan.
Electoral reform is the need of the hour.
Absolutely.
State funding of election is the need of the hour.
Sankarshan.
In order to stop this abuse of money power.
Okay, Sankarshan, coming to you, last words to you. If you read what the Supreme Court has said, there is some sense it makes, because they're talking about not the kind of promises like what is to be done, good water, clean water, or things like that, and these free sops which are being offered. Don't you think that there can be a distinction between these two things, and have a look at it?
Listen, this free sop offering on public money only speaks to me of the intellectual and ideological poverty of these parties. But the fact also is, Girish, that these promises have, in certain cases, not in all, have caught the imagination of the people. So what do you do? I mean, you cannot stop people exercising their franchise in favor or against political parties that they think fit.
Absolutely. Mr. Mendiratta, the last words to you. Is this distinction what the Election Commission would look at?
Yeah, certainly. We will, because the word there used is freebies.
Yes.
So we have to see what type of things can be offered.
Yes.
And because for everything you have to draw a line somewhere.
Right.
You can't, absolute things are not provided even in our constitution. So No one has
reasonable
an absolute
restriction.
right.
You're talking of reasonable restrictions.
Yeah, just like the Lakshman Rekha, we have to draw somewhere
Okay.
that line, and just about 1 minute I'll take about the electoral reforms.
Yes.
We also definitely feel the need for a very quick electoral reforms. The question about the criminalization was
Yes,
raised.
yes.
We have
And also the money part.
for the last 15, 20 years, we have been saying that you do something about the decriminalization of politics.
And the onus is to a huge extent on the political parties to make this happen.
Because if they
we
sit
have completely
together
run
and
out of
decide.
time. Completely run out of time, Mr. Mendiratta. But on that note, we need to end. This is a debate which will continue for some more time. Obviously, because these are very important and interesting issues. But as most of my guests said, there are larger issues of electoral reforms which also needs to be looked at more immediately. Thanks to all my guests, Mr. Tapan, Tarun, Vijay, Sankarshan, Thakur, and Mr. Mendiratta. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue on the big picture same time tomorrow.